Okay, hi, Jeremy Ambrose from Entrepreneurial Spark, and today we have been doing the morning mindset check-ins, and this is a slightly different slant on those because, actually, a lot of people are working from home right now, and everybody keeps on reading all these things about, top 10 tips on how to work from home and how to not get distracted by your kids running around or your dogs clawing at your arms and all that kind of stuff. So, what we wanted to do is actually bring in an angle of kind of healthy mind or healthy body, healthy mind. So setting the right context, setting the right work environment for you to then make sure that your mindset is right going into your day's work. I've actually invited somebody along, just to have a conversation, and she being Felicity, and Felicity has some top tips, but actionable and usable top tips that you can go away and do right now at your new work desk. And don't forget to take them back with you to your old work desk when we actually get through this crisis that we're going through right now. So, Felicity, you are an entrepreneur right now. You have your own semi-permanent makeup business, but for 12 years before that, you were an ergonomist.
Yes,
Now,
I was.
What is an ergonomist?
Yeah, it's one of those things that, you meet somebody for the first time and they ask you what you do and you say you're an ergonomist and they go blank. Ergonomics, it's all about the study in which kind of the way that people interact with the equipment that they use. And it's for really two purposes: for increasing productivity and reducing musculoskeletal risk. So that's the risk on the body.
So, yeah, reducing risk, certainly on the physique, on the as you said, the skeleton, the musculoskeletal system.
Yeah, muscle, bones, joints.
Perfect. But also productivity, which is going to be really key for those people working at home, because productivity, it's going to take a hit, isn't it? Let's face it. So,
absolutely.
Okay. So, usable tips on how I should be sat here at my desk doing what I should be doing to the best level. Right. So the first thing I've done is come in and I've just sat down on my chair. But you're probably going to tell me that my chair needs to be set up in a right way.
Yeah, absolutely. So the main thing is that what people do is they come and sit down and they think, yeah, brilliant. I'm all right. I'm comfortable-ish. I'll just crack on. However, that's probably one of the worst things to do, is to just kind of put up with what you've got. What you need to do is set things up to suit you and your body. So what we're going to do is, as Jeremy said, we're going to go through some top tips, and first things that we're going to set up your chair properly. So we've got some points here that if you can achieve all of them, brilliant, massive tick. If you can't and you can just do some, better than not doing anything at all. So first things first, we want your hip height to be slightly above your knee height when you're sitting down.
Okay.
So what I want you to do is shuffle your bum all the way back into your seat, and I want you to get into a position where you have your hips slightly above your knees. That might mean that you need to raise the height of your chair. I want your feet grounded though, as much as possible. And what we'll do is we'll kind of tweak things as we go through some other steps further down the line to see whether actually we need to raise your chair even further or lower you or whatever. But hip height above knee height. The reason we're doing this is so that we keep the hip joint nice and open, and it allows your back to be in a really good posture. And that's why I'm saying shuffle your bum. And really what you're doing is you're sitting on the bony part of your bum, rather than kind of going into this kind of curved pelvic position, so where you kind of rock your pelvis back, and you're sitting more on what we call your coccyx. It's your tailbone. That can apply a lot of pressure and it can be very uncomfortable. You'll certainly know if that's where you're sitting.
Okay.
So pelvis nice and forward, shuffle your bum all the way back, hip height above knee height.
Okay. What about driving position? Because I certainly, my mum, she likes to sit as close to the steering wheel as possible. But I guess at the desk, we need to be, I don't know, how do we need to be at the desk with our backs?
So backs, what we need to do is we want you to be slightly reclined. Okay. Slightly. The theory behind this is that if you sit bolt upright, Gravity is going straight down the spine and it causes compression of your discs.
Okay.
That increases if you go forward. So if you're leaning forward out of a poor posture, out of a good posture and into a poor posture, maybe you're reaching for something on your desk, or that's just how your body wants to be and that's what you're used to, then that increases the compression going down your spine, so more pressure on the discs. However, if you're slightly reclined, it eases that pressure. So you're
I can feel myself doing it now. Sorry, yeah, recline. I'm easing the pressure off the back. Yeah.
So slightly reclined, easing that pressure through the discs, so they don't squash as easily or as quickly throughout the day. So therefore, it's more comfortable.
Okay. So,
feet grounded, which is what I mentioned before. However, some people might be sat in their chair and they've got dangling feet, but yet they're in a really good position with their pelvis that we've just put them in. If that is right, and your feet are dangling, it might indicate that you need a footrest. We're talking kind of your 5'3" people probably need a footrest. Where we are at the moment, you probably don't have one lying around at home. So in that case, get a box, get some
Yellow
books,
pages?
stack them. Yellow pages, yeah. Pretty much, no one has those anymore.
No, they're quite thin now. They're quite thin.
Stack stuff.
They're not like they used to be.
No. Yeah, stack some books, cookbooks, whatever, stack them so that you're getting your feet nice and grounded. If you don't have your feet grounded, it can apply a lot of pressure on the back of your legs and increase kind of problems with your circulation, and it can be just generally uncomfortable. So get your feet grounded, and then you're probably thinking, right, well, what else do I need to do? Where are my shoulders in all this? Where are my arms? So we've got you sitting nicely back into the seat, shoulders relaxed. A lot of people carry a lot of tension in their shoulders, especially desk-based workers, because they're used to kind of coming forwards, typing on the keyboard, writing, reading, doing all these things. We want you in a position where your shoulders are nicely relaxed, and what you can do is just do some shoulder rolls to encourage that position and know where that kind of relaxed position should be. The other thing to do is to pinch your shoulder blades together, so kind of sticking out the chest, pinching those shoulder blades together, and that's when you know that you're in a really nice upper body posture. Your shoulder blades should touch the back of your seat constantly. If you can't feel your shoulder blades on that seat, you know that you've come forward, and that might be that you've rounded the shoulders or you've come forward in your posture. So if you can't feel them, readjust, get yourself back.
So that's a good thing to remember when you're trying to pull yourself up on sitting correctly, isn't it? So if your shoulder blades aren't touching the back, then you need to make sure that they are. Pinch them together and just relax.
Exactly. Exactly. Something's gone wrong. Readjust, reset. So following on from the shoulders, let's go down the arms and think about your elbows. So your elbows should be at a 90-degree angle. Now, you may have armrests, you might not. If you've got armrests, your elbows should be sitting just on the top of those armrests, with that shoulder relaxed, 90 degrees at the elbows, and your armrest just sitting underneath that. So not encouraging you to raise those shoulders up in order to sit on top of the armrests. If that is the case and you can't lower them, then get rid of them. Take them off completely. And
not my arms.
Not your arms. Keep your arms. You might need them.
we're talking about the rests,
about
right?
Your armrests. Armrests. Get rid of the armrests, not the arms. And then just allow this kind of freedom of movement and a nice relaxed shoulder position. The other thing is that if you've got a lumbar support in your backrest, use it. Get it nicely sitting in that kind of curve, the center of the curve of your lower back. Men don't have a prominent curve, so if you've got a lumbar support that adjusts with a pump, don't pump it up to its maximum. Just pump it, let it all out first of all, and then pump it so that you can just feel it. Women might need slightly more than men just because of the anatomical position of the lower back.
And what if I don't have a fancy chair that I can use a pump to do my lumbar support with?
So if you don't, then you can think about things like a rolled up small towel, but again, we don't want too much. So that might be too much if it's a rolled up towel. It depends on that natural curve of your own lower back. So think about folding a towel rather than rolling it up, just so that you filled that space. So you're sitting with your pelvis at the backrest, and you should feel contact all the way from your pelvis through your spine all the way to those shoulders, which you've nicely pinched back and you're touching the backrest. So
reminder.
there you might feel, there we go, you might feel that you've got a little bit of a space in your lower back. That just needs to be filled and supported. That's all you're doing.
Okay.
So improvise, towels, tea towels, just things like that. Some people might even have a lumbar support that they use in their car, but they might not be using their car as much as they used to. So get it in the chair that you're sitting in right now.
Okay. Now, that kind of naturally brings me on to ask the question of, how high should my desk be in relation to where I am? I've got my desk in front of me, but how high should it be?
Yeah, so desk height is another really important thing. All that we're going to discuss today, they're health and safety requirements. So if we were in the workplace, work setting, this is what you would ideally have to do. We're bringing it into the home setting, which can be more difficult, but we want to achieve as much of it as possible. So let's think about the desk. So we've got a desk, and usually they're about 72 centimeters in height.
72 centimeters.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's your average. But your desk height depends on your height. So it's, again, very individual to you. So now that we've sat you in this really nice position and really nice posture and your feet are grounded, going back to that elbow height. So we've got your shoulders relaxed, elbows at those 90-degree angles. And what we're talking about is a nice flat wrist, nice straight forearm. So you're thinking about your upper arm is coming up from your elbow here. Your desk should sit just under your hand. So we're not talking about kind of bent wrist positions, nicely straight, just underneath. If that's not happening and you're at a really nice sitting position, you've got your hip height above knee height, and you're coming down to the desk in this sort of an angle, then we need to think about raising the desk up.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is, if that is the case for you, usually we'd suggest desk raisers, and they're blocks that the desk will sit on. If you can get hold of them, great. Most of us won't be able to during this time, so think about improvising again. If you've got blocks of wood, stack them underneath the feet of your desk, and just get it to a height where you can achieve what we've discussed previously.
Yeah.
You're trying to do the best that you can. Equally,
sure.
If you've got into that really nice kind of straight forearm, but then when you're getting to the desk and you're going the opposite way, then maybe we need to think about bringing your seat height up to achieve this level. And that's when your feet might dangle. So if they didn't before, and we needed to bring you up to achieve this nice straight line with the elbow through to the desk, and your feet are dangling, you need to think
back
about
to the yellow pages.
Back to the yellow pages.
Yeah. Okay. So got the right height of desk. I'm sat nicely, pinching my shoulders back, but relaxed.
Yes.
Now the next thing I'm kind of looking at is I've got some peripherals and I've got my keyboard, but I'm using a laptop. I think a lot of people will be using laptops at home unless they have a dedicated space. So how high should my laptop be? Where should I have this thing?
Okay, so you're right. Mostly people will be using laptops right now. So what we need to do is get that screen at the right height. We've sat you in a really good position and your desk is at the right height. What we then don't want to do is compromise your posture by you looking down onto the screen because you've put your laptop straight onto the desk. Your screen height should be at eye level. So where you're sitting in this really nice position and your feet are grounded, desk at the right height, your screen height, so if you literally just go from the level of your eyes straight along, top of the screen should be the top of where your eyes are, top of the glass screen. So don't think about the frame around it. Glass screen. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to do it yourself. So you might want to get whoever else is in the house with you to just have a look. Just go to the side, have a look and see if it's at the right height.
Okay.
Equally, the distance is really important as well. So it should be arm's length. So just, again, shoulder nicely back in that chair, stick your arm out in front of you. At the end of your fingertips should be where your screen is, just to encourage you to stay back.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling to raise your laptop, again, stack it on boxes, I sometimes tell people to do it on printer paper. It's nice and sturdy. Just make sure whatever you're using to raise things up is sturdy enough to hold the weight of whatever it is.
Okay.
And just be aware that, you know, if it's not purpose built, then it's, you know, you need to be careful when you're using these things.
So I've got a razor that's now raised my laptop up, and it's got it, and I can angle it. I can angle the razor. Now, you're probably going to say that that needs to be raised so I can use the keyboard up here, no? Or what are you going to tell me about my keyboard? I can't use it anymore, can I?
No.
Oh.
Keyboards are out. Okay, so as soon as we've raised that laptop up,
yeah,
and suddenly you'd be working with kind of a laptop that looks pretty much like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you've stuck it on boxes, it's going to be like that. Either way, you can't use that laptop keyboard or the mouse anymore. It's too high up. It's going to cause
yeah, it's bringing
awkward,
my shoulders up already.
Yeah, you'll notice it. It's going to cause awkward wrist postures, shoulders, neck, all of these things. So in an ideal world, again, we'd expect you to have an additional keyboard and mouse. And this is, again, stuff that's covered under health and safety, usually. If you can get hold of these, they're fitted by USB. So if you can get hold of them from an online retailer at the moment, brilliant, get your hands on them. See if your company if you could do kind of a claim back system further down the line when all of this whole craziness has calmed down.
But as an entrepreneur, I don't have any money.
It's an investment in your health in that case. So if you haven't got these things and you're working at the laptop for more than 2 hours, you need it raised up, you need an additional keyboard, additional mouse. This is all an investment in your health. If you haven't got your health,
yeah,
you have.
I'll probably have to spend more money on my health if it goes wrong later down the line than my £10 keyboard. Okay,
and think about your productivity as well.
Yeah, that's me told. Okay, so keyboard's out. Now, I like getting the USB keyboards because I've been told to use one of those, and then I flick the little legs up on the back. And again, you're going to tell me because that's changed the angle of where my hands are. That's bad news, isn't it?
Yeah. So you're starting to think in terms of ergonomics now. So we're thinking about the angles that you're working at.
Yeah.
You're right. A lot of people think it's wonderful. They get their keyboard and they flip the little feet up and they think, yes, I'm ready to go. So that's probably one of the worst things that you could do. Some people, yes, they need it. However, if you have no kind of underlying health issues with your wrists, then you don't want to be doing that. Just grabbing my keyboard here so I can show you. So got a keyboard here, and the crazy feet are underneath. So a lot of people just flick those up, and your keyboard will be slightly on an angle like that.
Yeah.
But if we then think in terms of where we've put your forearm nicely flat, and then you come in and use that keyboard, you're going to be changing this angle of your wrist. Exactly. It increases the risk of strain in your wrist and in your hand, and it increases the risk of repetitive strain injury. Now, if you're typing a lot throughout the day, yeah, you're probably more at risk of repetitive strain injury anyway. So the last thing you want to do is raise that keyboard and increase it any further. So flat keyboards all round. We don't want to be raising those feet up. Ignore your feet on the keyboard, and what we're trying to achieve is that nice flat wrist. Any kind of deviation from this point is going to add risk. So that's what we want to achieve. Same goes for the mouse as well. With a mouse, naturally the design of them can put you in this kind of sorry, your elbow's going to be there. It's going to slightly encourage that kind of extended wrist position. So we want you to have a nicely relaxed hand. We don't want you gripping on for dear life and anchoring the wrist down on your desk and then kind of pivoting at that point. What we want to do is kind of have this nicely relaxed hand, and we want to use full arm movements rather than that pivot.
Right.
So keyboard and mouse directly in front of you. These things that you're using a lot throughout the day need to be nice and close, so they're not encouraging you to lean forward and lean out of that nice posture that we've got you in your chair. So keyboard nicely in front of you, mouse nicely to the side. We don't want that wandering off throughout the day either. What I see a lot of people doing is kind of leaning on the desk and using their mouse kind of, you know, maybe a foot away from them. Don't be one of those people. Don't do that. Bring it nice and close, just so that you've got your arm nicely by your side. No chicken wings. Let's keep your arms down and keep your mouse nice and close.
Is there a rule of thumb with that? I mean, should I be keeping everything within my kind of shoulder width, everything that I'm using, or?
Yeah, so what we do is we call it the area of optimum reach, and that's basically you sat in your chair, shoulders pinched, which at some point, everyone will go back at that point. So, and you sat in that nice position, nice and close to your desk, you can reach everything at arm's length. So where your hands are should be where all your equipment is. So elbows down by your sides, and you should be able to reach your keyboard and your mouse. Anything that you're not using as often as the keyboard and mouse can afford to be slightly further away. So that might be your drink or your phone. Then you will see that you will have your computer, whether it's a laptop, desktop, whatever. And then those things that you use rarely, it might be a folder that you refer to now and again, that can afford to be further away. So area of optimum reach, that's all that equipment nice and close to you.
Perfect. So that is chair setup, desk setup, where you need your screen, all your peripherals like your laptop, your mouse, easy for me to say, wrist posture. So that seems like the basics and everything I need to just get set up. Now, we've discussed this, and there's going to be some more tips coming out from you on kind of the later stage stuff, or the more advanced stuff. Which we're going to do a separate video, so just make sure you look out for that. And that's going to cover things like, what do you do when you take a phone call, reading and writing at your desk, what happens if you haven't got any equipment at all, and other things, just reducing that musculoskeletal risk.
Musculoskeletal.
That's why she's the expert. Awesome. Thank you so much, Felicity, and we shall be in touch again for those later stage tips. Thank you.
Thank you.